Okay, today we're going to start 2 days on absolute values again. And the first day we're talking about absolute value equations. And hopefully at the end of this video you can say that I can solve absolute value equations. So if we're going to do absolute value equations, we better review absolute values. So on this first one, when we're talking about absolute values, we have to remember that absolute values are talking about distance from zero. So on number one, if it asks you how far is 4 away from 0, or the absolute value of 4, we're talking about 4. And number two, it says the absolute value of a negative 6, which means how far is a negative 6 away from 0, and that would be 6. Number three, if it says the negative, the absolute value of 5, or the opposite, the absolute value of 5, we first have to think about what the absolute value of 5 is, and that is a positive 5. It's 5 away from 0. But then the negative out front makes this a negative 5. Number four, we first have to evaluate inside the brackets. So it's the absolute value of a negative 6. The absolute value of negative 6 is a positive 6, but the negative out front makes it a negative. So where can we look at absolute values as tying into real life? If we took a look at this problem that says Serena skates towards Darius and then passes by him. She skates at a constant rate of 20 feet per second. At what times is Serena 60 feet away from Darius? Explain your reasoning. So think about that for a little bit, and then we'll take a look at it together. So hopefully when you're thinking through it, you should be thinking, okay, if she's going at 20 feet per second, she's going to get 20 feet closer here. It would be 1 second had passed. Hopefully you can see that. 1 second passed, and she would be at 80 feet. Okay, if another 20 seconds passed, she'd be at, this would be at 2 seconds now, she'd be at 60 feet. So after 2 seconds, she's 60 feet away. And then if we went 3 seconds, she would have gone another 20 feet, so she'd be at 40 feet. If she went, kept on going, if it was she was 100 feet away, 5 seconds it would take for her to get to Darius. But then on the other side of Darius, she would keep going, so she would continue going this way. At 6 seconds, she would be at 6 seconds here. She'd be at 20 feet again away from Darius. If we went to 7 seconds, she'd be at 40 feet. And after 8 seconds, she'd be at 60 feet away again. So when is she 60 feet away? She was 60 feet away at 2 seconds, and then again at 8 seconds. So if we're talking about distances away from someone, this would be the same idea kind of as absolute value. So what we're going to be looking at today is solving absolute value graphs. So what we're looking at, this question is asking us, is what number, this x, what number is 6 away from 0? So what number is 6 away from 0? Well, we have to think about both sides of 0. So on one side of 0, if we're thinking on a number line, here's 0. Well, what numbers are 6 away from 0? I can think of, well, negative 6 is 6 away from 0, but also a positive 6. So we would have to say x equals negative 6 or a positive 6. Another way that we can write that is 6 equals positive or negative 6. Okay, same idea on number 2. We're asking us what number is 8 away from 0? Well, what number is 8 away from 0? Well, on the negative side of things, x could be a negative 8. On the positive side of things, x could be a positive 8. Okay, number 3, it says what number is a negative 9 away from 0? And this one, if you remember when we've talked about absolute values before, and I believe we have, we can't have a number that is a negative distance. I always tell kids, well, first of all, this would be then x is no solution. I always tell it to kids like this. If you walk 5 blocks to school in the morning, you're not going to go home and tell your parents that you have to walk a negative 5 blocks home. Distance is always going to be referred to as a positive number. Okay, so what's it going to look like on these? So now we got a absolute value of b is equal to 2/3. So again, this is saying what number is 2/3 away from 0? So again, I could say b is a positive 2/3 or b is a negative 2/3. On the next one, it says what number is 10 away from 0, or the absolute value of y is equal to 10. Well, y here could be a positive or a negative 10. On number 3, well, now we have to think a little bit more. So now we have to somehow get that absolute value of n by itself. So to do these, we simply subtract off what number is with it, and we get the absolute value of n now is equal to a 3. So what number is 3 away from 0? That could be a positive or a negative 3. So on number 4, it says 4 is equal to the absolute value of s minus 3. So hopefully we can see here that it would make sense that now we're going to have to add a 3 to both sides to get that absolute value by itself. So I'd have 7 is equal to the absolute value of s, which means s could have been a positive or a negative 7. And on the last one, it says 7 times the absolute value of d is equal to a 49. So to get the absolute value of d by itself, hopefully it makes sense to us. That way, it's simply divide by 7 first. And the absolute value of d is equal to a positive 7. So what could the absolute value of, or excuse me, what could d be? It could be a positive or a negative 7. Okay, let's look at one more page of these. Okay, so now if I had this one is a little bit different now. So now it says the absolute value of an r minus 9 is equal to a negative 3. And again, a red flag should go up because we got an absolute value being equal to a negative. And anytime we have that, we're going to have to say that there is no solution because, again, distance is not going to be a negative. So what about this next one? Now we've got the absolute value of c plus 3 is equal to 15. So now we have to think a little bit, but this would mean that either c plus 3 is equal to a 15 or c plus 3 is equal to a negative 15. So if c plus c were equal to a positive 15, I would minus the 3 off, and I'd have that c is equal to a 12. Or if I do the other one, c plus 3 is equal to a negative 15, I minus the 3 off there again, and I'd have the other option of c is equal to a negative 18. So if I take a look at this next one, number 11, hopefully we can see that we'd have to start this off by dividing by a negative 2, so we get that absolute value by itself. And once I do that, now I have the absolute value of 3d is equal to a negative 2. And again, a red flag should go up. Got an absolute value equal to a negative. So here again, this would be no solution. Okay, and number 15 is probably the most difficult one you're going to see today. So now we have to first start out by adding a 1 to get that absolute value by itself. And I'd have the absolute value of 3f plus 0.5 equals a 8. So now what two inequality or equations come out of that? Well, 3f plus a 0.5 could be equal to an 8, or 3f plus a 0.5 could be equal to a negative 8. And then we just go ahead and solve both of those. So I would minus the 0.5 from both sides here, and I'd get 3f equals 7.5. If I divide by a 3, I'd have f is equal to 2.5. Okay, on the other side here, I would minus a 0.5, and I'd get 3f equals a negative 8.5. And then if I take 8.5 divided by 3, I would get f equals a negative 2.83 repeating. Or if you know your fractions, you would know that 5/6 is equal to 0.83 repeating. So we could say that this is f is equal to a negative 2 and 5/6. Okay, hopefully those made sense to you. And if they didn't, I hope you can come with some questions formulated for tomorrow for me. Okay, that, my friends, is a wrap.